भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्। शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Adonai Echad, Adonai Hashem Baruch, Vayisrael Masri, Ushasri, Ushasri, Yanasai, Vayisrael Masri, Namo Tassa, Bhagavato, Arahato, Samma Sambuddhassa, Sharanam Gacchami, Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami, Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. 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 La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, Allah, la ilaha illallah, Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe, Satyadevaya Dhimahi, Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe, Satyadevaya Dhimahi, Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe, Satyadevaya Dhimahi, Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Sundara, Sundara Vinayaka, Sundara Vinayaka, Dear Lord, we pray, grace us Lord, we pray. Sanctify the day the Lord is born within us. Glorify God, celebrate His praise. Sanctify the day the Lord is born within us. So other praise Lord, this is our true birth. So other praise Lord, this is our true birth. Living a life of loving service, glorifying God, celebrate His praise. Glorifying God, celebrate His praise. We sanctify the name the Lord is born in. Glorifying God, celebrate His praise. We sanctify the name the Lord is born in. So other way, Lord, this is our future. So other way, Lord, this is our future. Living a life of loving service, glorifying God, celebrating His. Glorifying God, celebrating His. Sanctify the day the Lord is born within us.
सत्यस्वरूपिणी माँ साई प्रेम स्वरूपिणी माँ
सत्यस्वरूपिणी माँ साई प्रेम स्वरूपिणी माँ
सत्यस्वरूपिणी माँ साई प्रेम स्वरूपिणी माँ
सत्यस्वरूपिणी माँ साई प्रेम स्वरूपिणी माँ आनंददायिनी हृदय वासिनी वासिनी माँ परमानंददायिनी हृदय वासिनी वासिनी माँ Vimarini Bhavayahari Kavitavari Vimarini Bhavayahari Kavitavari सुनो मेरे परम कृपालो परमेश्वर साई देवा साई देवा साई देवा साई देवा अरज सुनो सत्य सनातन अंतर्यामी सत्य सनातन अंतर्यामी सत्य सनातन अंतर्यामी सत्य सनातन अंतर्यामी सकल चराचर तुम हो स्वामी 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 जन्म मरण से पार करो 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 भव बंधन से उद्धार 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 करो पंडित सुनो मेरे परम कृपालो पंडित सुनो मेरे परम कृपालो परमेश्वर साई देवा परमेश्वर साई देवा पंडित सुनो मेरे परम कृपालो अर्ज सुनो मेरे परम कृपालो सत्य सनातन अंतर्यामी सकल चराचर नमो स्वामी जगत से पार करो जन्म मरण से पार करो बंधन से उद्धार करो बाबा बंधन से उद्धार करो बंधन से उद्धार करो बाबा बंधन से उद्धार करो जिस लोग साईश्वरी चंद्रमुखी this path, God's divine protection, be now and forever. Righteous in your peace, be now and forever. Righteous in your peace. Oh, Sairam, we request 1 minute of silence. We found out that Arun Kamapur's dad passed away, so one minute of silence if you can. Thank you, Sairam. We are Happy New Year to everybody. This is the first time we're meeting. We don't have too many announcements that I can think of. We have the next big event coming up is Shivratri, which is on Saritaji?
March 8th.
March 8th. Okay, so we should, do we agree to do the same protocol, 8 to 12? Is that good? Okay. We may have some sign-ups and so on as we get closer. March 8th, 8 to 12. And probably in the spring, we'll pick up that Seva project on the trail walk and cleanup as it gets warmer. Yeah.
Sign-ups for the pizza site here in the signed up quite a few, so we may have to reach out to you and change it around a little bit.
Why?
Because there's some people who have their set months and they will argue with you. You'll get
I left a spot open in September. Since you mentioned September.
That was the least of our others as well. No, thank you. Just kidding about it. So those who haven't signed up and have the auntie.
Yeah, Sarita and I talked. The thing is, there are people who sign up, but not necessarily at the beginning of the year. And what happens is that one can't change it. Like I tried to change something, and I think I have to go to John for that.
Yeah, we can.
So basically, everyone who participates, go ahead and sign up. But Kiran needs to empty all the maximum you can take is 1 month.
This is not a problem we've had, so I'm not sure.
And it's not a problem even now.
आंटी आपने उस दिन इतना जोश भर दिया. We need more.
See, now you have to start infusing in a lot of things now because of people are listening to sign up, which is good.
You know, but the thing is, on a serious note, if we have giving hearts, you know, even for the soup kitchen, I'm sure we can work out how to accommodate, because they need our resources, right? So maybe we can have a better meal, or, you know, a lot of other things can happen to keep everybody's. On the other hand, I know we have a lot of people in the center who like to help the center with pouring out their hearts and just sign up because they see empty slots. So everybody has a different reason. We can accommodate. Sharad, where's Sharad? Anyone else have any announcements or anything want to share?
On Jan 20th, we have Rudram and bhajans at our house, so please do come. It starts around 5 o'clock, 5 to 6:30. So whoever can do the Rudram really well, Saturday. So Rudram chanters, so please come.
20th.
And we want to learn, and by listening, and I think we will all learn.
Okay, terrific. Saira, anything else? Yeah. Uncle, anything?
Present.
I know, Uncle, you have to leave pretty soon after the center today, right?
Yes.
So we'll
No
keep that in mind. Okay. Sairam, let's start with 3 ohms, and Patti Uncle has a 6x4, and Sai Kiran is here to cover chapter 7 for us. Just one request, there's a couple of people on the YouTube live stream, they've requested special today because they couldn't make it. So please do speak in the mics because they will not be able to hear at all if we don't. So Sairam, Uncle, please.
Okay. I have a 6x4 today. This is one of my favorite quotes from Baba. It happens to be from chapter 7 of Dhyanavayini, and Sai Kiran will cover it beautifully. But I'll read the quote. All spiritual aspirants recite, repeat, and remember the name of the Lord as formed on their own tongues. Each one turns with his fingers the rosary appropriate to his religion. But for everyone, there is nothing so fruitful, so universal, so holy among spiritual disciplines as these, namely, the repetition of the name of the Lord, repetition of the divine name, meditation, and remembrance of the Lord's name. Name is more important than the form. We form our own form, not our form. Our own concept of divine form is unique to each individual. When we see, for example, any Baba's photo and close our eyes, we don't necessarily remember the photo we are looking at, but we remember right away the one that is in our heart. And that is, in my opinion, true dhyana, how firmly we have established that form within our own heart. That is the key. And repeating the name of the Lord enables us to reach that form in our heart directly. No traffic jam in between.
Nice.
Sarah.
Sairam. Uncle, can you pass the mic over? Yeah.
Sairam, thank you, Uncle, for leading into today's chapter. This is perfectly timed by you and chosen for 6x4. So, as Uncle briefly mentioned already, the focus of this chapter is really remembrance of the name of the Lord. And Swami goes on to emphasize how name is more important actually than the form itself. So, for many of us, probably also sitting in this room or online, we may not have had the opportunity even to see Swami physically. Or amongst us, there might be few who probably had more access to Swami physically than some of the others. So really being in the Sannidhi or the true physical proximity of an avatar need not necessarily be a benchmark by which we measure ourselves or our spiritual achievements. And John, maybe lower it as it was. Thank you. So we can just focus on the fact that we have the mental and physical ability to say the name. Even if we are, let's say, unable to speak, if we are able to have the constant, as there are 2 terms that I used, and previously Sarita ji covered this in her sort of rendition of the previous chapter, where the 2 aspects are japa and namasmarana, right? So what Uncle said, remembrance of the name of the Lord in its English translation becomes an equivalent to something close to namasmarana. On the other hand, repetition of the name of the Lord goes towards it that he was illustrating before, which is japa. So there is difference between japa and namasmarna. In my opinion, japa leads to namasmarna. So no one is less than the other. So, however, like Uncle said today, it is about not just repeating, but also connecting at an inner level, at some level, to, the Lord, the power of where the name and the remembrance both become, in sync to allow namasmarana to happen. Roma Auntie in the past has referred to an instance or probably a couple where when she was running into a car accident, going away from the lane, she just called out Swami, just automatically, not because of anything else, but the fact that japa in her had become a form of namasmarana when in the time of need she just called out, similar to how Draupadi did when she called out to Krishna, for example. Going further, I think there are a couple things that come to mind when I read this chapter. Was Swami used to sing it beautifully in his discourses. What did Mirabai sing all the time? Payoji men. Naam Ratana Dhanava. There's nothing else more valuable than the name of the Lord. And the way Swami opens up this chapter is whatever the angle or tangle in which people are caught, if they get immersed in the Lord's name, it will make them free. And this is the opening sentence of this particular chapter. And what this immediately brought back to my memory was the day when my mother, in her physical form, happened to meet Swami, the last time she met Swami. And this was an occasion in Trei Vrindavan when Swami had asked for her to be brought, along with my father, of course. And one of the most unique things, and I may have said this before, but in the months preceding to that event or that day, all she was doing was just thinking of Swami, nothing else. She would have many astral travels where she would meet Swami and Swami would be taking her somewhere. She would narrate all this to my father, and at the time, because she was suffering from cancer and she was being treated for cancer, people tend to think these are hallucinations caused by medication. Not necessarily, and to some extent, yes, they do take you to a different place. And some of it could be associated with medication. But she was just all the time immersed in the remembrance of Swami. So when this particular day happened, I saw one of the most unique things that I don't think I have seen Swami do. So in Trei Vrindavan, any of you who have seen, there is a ramp that goes up to Swami's interview room in Trei Vrindavan. And usually devotees go in. Once Swami calls them, he comes down he comes at the edge of the ramp on the top, and then he calls people and he just stands with his two hands like this as people are going inside. So first the women go in and then the men go in. In this case, that particular day, Swami actually didn't stand at the edge of that. He came down to the ramp. My mother was in a wheelchair. He took the wheelchair, went up the ramp himself. She was very frail. She was very, very weak by then, so she hardly weighed anything. So Swami pushed the ramp up, pushed the wheelchair up the ramp, took her, put her seat next to his seat in the interview room door, came out again, and then asked everyone to come inside. What I'm trying to illustrate is, and then in the interview, when he took us inside separately, my mother was weeping and she was telling Swami, how will my children live after I'm gone? Swami said, don't worry about any of that. And I'll come back to what Roma Auntie has emphasized many a times in this center. His words, Swami's words were, Ma, Naam Smaran Karo. Naam Smaran Karo. I will take care of your children. And that's all. Those were his last words to her. And she said, Swami, lekin mujhe aapse promise chahiye that you will take care of my children. So Swami took her hands, held them. Ma, Sai Ma promise karta hai. I will take care of your children. So what the underlying message here really is that the message that Swami gave to a person who was in her last days, only one tool to use, Namasmara. Do Namasmara, the name. And only think of that. Only think of the Lord through the chanting or constant remembrance of the name. So that's what this opening sentence actually sort of took me back in time, and I thought it would be worthwhile sharing with all of you as to, I think, in many discourses, many other writings of Swami has re-emphasized the power and the relevance of chanting of the name in Kali Yuga, including in this chapter. So like Uncle said, it is universal to all religions. That is the quote in the second paragraph here. And Swami refers to all three of these aspects: japa, that is repetition of the divine name; meditation, dhyana; and namasmarna. And Swami is using this in a particular sequence as to how you should start with japa, transcend japa, use japa or the repetition of the Lord's name with every breath as you are meditating or you are, engaging the practice of dhyana. And eventually, the culmination of dhyana on the name will take you to actual namasmarana. So it's very beautifully shown by Swami here. And then he gives a couple examples as to how craving the Lord's name rather than the form has more value to it, and how the name is more important than the form. He gives very simple examples like, when you think of the rose, the word rose, close your eyes and think of the word rose, or think of a mango, you immediately can relish the sweetness of a mango, the beautiful form and the colors or the attributes of the rose that you think of just by virtue of closing your eyes and thinking of that name. And then he also says that if you were to think about the form and pursue actually getting a rose, there is a chance that you might even get sort of, hurt by the thorns that are there in the plant, or you might think of, all the trouble that it takes you to get to the sweetness of the mango by virtue of peeling it or doing other things and having to encounter the, the seed that is in the mango and so on and so forth. So he says that becomes physical sort of, a struggle as opposed to just the beauty of imagining or saying the name of, at this like simple example. We often close our eyes now. Of course, when we were in Swami's presence, we would look at Swami and offer our salutations to him before we started speaking in front of him. But even now, every student or every member of the center, when they start giving a speech or something, if you just think of the lotus feet, you can see that picture. You can imagine that lotus feet, those soft feet of Swami, before you start, and you offer whatever you're going to do and then proceed. So Swami signifies that. And this also sort of brought back, Swami transcends from there gradually into saying how doing yoga or pranayama are powerful tools, and they are good spiritual practices. However, they are sort of embedded somewhere or the other with some sort of a risk. And many times it could be a health risk with respect to breathing exercises and so on and so forth. With yoga, some people are able to do it, some people are not able to do it, and so on and so forth. But he says taking the name is universal to all ages across your life. You're not restricted by how much you can actually move your body or station it, so on and so forth. So he says this is the easiest tool that one can use to, get into just attaining spirituality or getting into dhyana as a tool to get into dhyana. So he says meditate with the name of the Lord. And he very beautifully actually says that it is by means of the riches of the name of the, of the Lord that you can actually get to the rupa. He says it will come automatically to you. And this is what reminded me of the Swami getting off the ramp. It was just her constant remembrance of Swami that probably made the Lord get down the ramp, come take her in that wheelchair up there and put her there. So there's a beautiful bhajan that also says that, naam se Bhagwan khiche aate hain. So he can come to you just by virtue of you taking the name. He will come to you. You don't have to do anything to go anywhere and seek him. It's a tool that can drag him to you. And I was also reminded of another beautiful bhajan that we used to hear growing up, and many of you may have heard, sung by Anup Jalota, where he says, Ram se bada Ram ka naam. And he says, the ocean which, Rama could not cross himself until he had the setu laid with, that also was empowered by them all chanting the name of Ram and writing the name of Ram on every stone that they laid in the water. But he says just even Lord Ram physically, of course, needed that Setu to be built to Lanka, but by virtue of just saying his name, Hanuman could jump across that ocean and go. So Swami illustrates the power of the name of the Lord, and then of course goes into the universality across religion. Could be Hindu, Muslim, Christian, whatever, and you still have the access to such a tool. And he says repeating the name is safest and easiest. So repeat the name without intermission or faltering. And this is what I was trying to illustrate earlier, that just even engaging in japa, even if you're not in deep thought, is still meaningful. You go to Parthi, oftentimes we used to see this growing up. Like many of our teachers, they used to always at every instance that's happening, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. In Parthi, if a Sevadar has to scold you, Sai Ram, he will tell you, right? If somebody, so even scolding is happening with Sai Ram, even the love is being shown with Sai Ram, everything is being done with Sai Ram. So like among students, when we used to want to make fun of each other, we used to say Sai Ram. So everything was associated with the name, and I think it is very common, even if you go to Vrindavan, and I'm referring to Mathura Vrindavan, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe. So it's beautiful in the sense that if our daily lives are associated with the name, automatically when you need it the most and where it most matters, I think it will come out automatically. So that is something that that I was reminded of, at least when reading this chapter. And Swami, of course, has said this many times, and this is the last part, just keeping track of time here, that all the scriptures have often emphasized the importance of Namasmarana in Kali Yuga. Swami says in this yuga particularly, apparently, so Swami used to say this in different ways, and some of our teachers used to also say this, or refer to this that Swami had said, or maybe others before Swami have said, physically speaking, that in Treta Yuga or Satyuga and Treta Yuga, people had to go out into the forests and meditate and whatnot, and they were already leading much more righteous lives than all of us are leading in this Kali Yuga. And yet they had to do that to be able to attain Godhead or to be able to realize themselves. And in Kali Yuga, we are surrounded by so much, and yet I believe people who were born in Satyuga, this is how our teachers told us, I'm just sharing with you all. How much it is true, who knows? But every yuga, we have been born again and again and again. And those souls that came through Satyuga or went into Treta, right? Each one got liberated at some point or time, some point along their journey. Kali Yuga basically has all of us who have still not attained that. We are still struggling, and we are therefore born in Kali Yuga again. Some of us probably have lived with the Lord in different avatars and yet were not able to achieve that realization. So here we are in Kali Yuga, and this time God has given us the opportunity and the secret to attaining realization, which is Namasmarana. And of course, Seva. Right? These are the two tools that Swami has emphasized. And Swami says in this chapter that where once you have Namasmarana, you will automatically achieve love, right, for your fellow beings. And ultimately, within yourself, you will find Shanti, that is peace. Swami says this in this chapter. But going back to this last paragraph, Namasmarana is the most powerful tool that I think Swami is emphasizing in this chapter that we should use. And I think there is no harm in starting off with japa, even if it is a rosary bead that we have to, go through on a daily basis. But we have to have this, as a default setting in ourselves, so that we can actually go towards dhyana with this. And when japa combined with dhyana, I think will lead to Namasmarana. One last thing that I just sort of wanted to allude to today, and this is based on something that I came across recently, was talking about different yugas, right? I found it very profound and beautiful, so just wanted to share. Some of you may have heard of this before, but I'm just taking this opportunity. In that, in Treta Yuga, the good and the evil actually lived on two different parts of land, right? So, in fact, in Satyuga, when all the Dashavatars happened, the the good and the evil lived on totally different planets, so to speak, right? And there were devas and there were asuras. In Treta Yuga, the good and the evil lived on two different land masses, so to speak. Lanka was where Ravana was, and India and Ayodhya and other places where Lord Rama and all his army of Vanaras and good people and the sages and saints were. So the bad actually had to come from somewhere else to come and trouble these sages and saints, and then Lord Rama had to respond to that as an avatar. Coming to Dwapar Yuga, the good and the evil happened within a family. So brothers, Kauravas and Pandavas. And they say now in Kali Yuga, actually the good and the evil is within one body, within each one of us. So there's a constant battle in that Kurukshetra between the good and the. I just found it very beautiful. And when you put this into context as to what is it that we can use as a true tool for, I feel Namasmarna actually has in itself the whole concept of gratitude enveloped in it, right? Like you're constantly remembering God and you're grateful for everything that for the fact that you're alive, for the fact that you're breathing, so on and so forth. So I really think not how much ever one says can be less as far as the relevance of Namasmarna is concerned. And Swami is really, I think if you look at Swami's avatarhood, he has of course from the young age started Manasa Bhajare Guru Charanam. His life has been emphasized with Namasmarna, Seva, largely this, which both of them lead to also cultivating love. So if one was to describe the Satya Sai avatar, one could just put it with Namakirtana or Namasmarna, Seva, and love. These are the three prema. So with that, I'll end here. And I just wanted to go around the room with all of you and just sort of share, if you feel like, the relevance of Namasmarna in your life. And we've heard from Roma Aunty multiple times about how important it is to her and central to her life and philosophy. But I want to hear from, all of you, how you would talk about Namasmarna. Shanti Aunty.
Sairam.
One second, Aunty.
Shanti Aunty, use the mic, please.
Sairam.
All of you know that I meditate every day. This happened when I was about 15 years old, that my father got very worried that I was not married. So he took me and to a person who said, he gave me on Ganesha, which I meditate every day. And today, while meditating, Baba is always there. But there are places, I have meditated wherever I go, in all the continents, I have meditated. So this happens to be, at that time, there was a bus to go, we couldn't drive, and we went, and there was, to go inside the pyramid, there was about 3 miles long, and we knew we could never get in. If we stand there, we would never get the bus back, and so we were wondering what to do. Out of the blue, a person comes and says, "Let me see your passport." I open and I show it, and he says, "Go in." Till today, I don't know what he saw in my passport, except like everybody else, it's the same passport. So there are places where Swami has intervened and shown me, get in. I went in the pyramid, prayed to Swami and said, "Sai Ram, I'm telling you, there's no place on this earth. I can go in South America, that happened. So many places, it's unbelievable." So, and in fact, today when I was praying, Baba comes and he's standing there and he says, "Look, I have to show you something." And we're all in Putpattis, in the standing for Baba. I mean, sitting down there. Soundri is there, Kanchana is there. All of us are standing. He says, and he's standing there, and I go to touch. He said, nobody wants to touch my feet. I think, this is all I pray for this feet. Sai Ram. Thank you.
Thanks, Auntie Saram.
One other thing I just sort of missed out was Swami recommends in this chapter that there is no need for you to discuss with anybody what name you have chosen to chant and what spiritual practice you have chosen for your spiritual upliftment. So just because all that will sort of take is so that it doesn't breed discussion and you don't have to get into that. So I just thought I'll fill that up with there is no need for one to engage in any kind of discussion about what name or what spiritual practice we've taken.
Uncle, do you want to share your thoughts before you leave, Uncle?
Oh.
Why don't you sit for a few minutes?
On the
It's on-
chair, on the chair.
Sit down for a few minutes.
Please on the
There is no end to the essence of what Saiken has told. The benefits of Namsmarana, saying the name. We have derived benefits from that so much, there's no end to it. Very quickly, I'll tell you one small one. I went to France once and over the weekend that was unplanned. I had to stay over the weekend there and I contacted my cousin who was in Geneva. So he said, come over for the weekend. It is Akhand Bhajan. So I decided to go to Geneva by train. And since it was going to be Akhand Bhajan, and I said, no point having a big suitcase or anything. So I emptied my briefcase and put a change of clothes in that one briefcase and went to Geneva by train. There, Geneva is the border. France and the train station is the border. And when I emptied my briefcase in the hotel, I left the passport also there. And I went to Switzerland without a passport. And they checked at the border and said, where is your passport? Then I realized I didn't have it. They said, okay, sit here. There's another train it was around 11 o'clock in the morning. I said, wait here. There's a train going back to Grenoble in 3 hours. Take the train and go back. And I had no choice. I had to sit on that side, on the France side of the border. And they turned off the lights, turned off the heat, and closed the gate. There was a small gate. They closed the gate and put a big padlock on that and went away. Everybody went away. I was sitting there and talking to myself, Baba, I've come all the way from there for this Sai Bhajan, Akhand Bhajan. What am I supposed to do? Why did you disappoint me like this? And I was having a conversation with Baba. That is, for me, Namasmarana. And a guy came, pushed the gate with his hand, it opened, no key, nothing. And he asked me, why are you sitting here? I told the whole sob story that I had come here, I left passport in the hotel and all, but I had my driver's license. And he checked my driver's license and checked whether I had a return ticket and asked me, why have you come here? I said, we are doing prayer for international peace. I couldn't explain to him Akhand Bhajan properly. Told him I want to participate in that. Where is it? I said, it is in Lisbon. I don't know. My cousin lives in, I had his address. So I told him, I'm going there and we are going to that bhajan, 24-hour bhajan. He looked at me and looked at the driver's license and my return ticket and said, okay, go. And tomorrow when you come back, tell that your name is in the book. So I said, fine. I went and he came with me outside. Right next to next to the station is a taxi stand and a bus stand. He merged with the crowd and went away. And I took a taxi and went there and participated in the Akhand Bhajan. Next morning when I came to the train station, the guy at the counter said, are you the one with the name in the book? I said, yes. He said, go. He didn't even check my ticket. He came. So the power of Namasmarana, there is no limit to it. And thank you.
Sai Ram, very nice.
We'll do one and one.
Oh, okay.
Sairam, thanks, Saikiran. Thanks for those wonderful experiences that you share with us. It's very powerful. So one other reminder that we have to keep reminding ourselves to have Swami's name on our lips all the time. I remember Sarita always said her grandmother had said that to her, and it's a very powerful reminder. For me, it's very, very special too. The Namasmarana, because my mom has gone through a lot of tribulations, these challenges of the first one, it was stroke, when she had the stroke and she was there and I was here and I couldn't go to India. At that time, the kids were little. The only thing I did was listening to Sai Ram Sai Shyam's song. Like, I would have listened to it some 1,000 times. I don't know. I just put it on my headphone. I just listened because I wanted to internalize that. Tere dwar pe aun, mujhe shanti do Bhagwan. Whatever happens, let there be peace. That was the prayer. And again, my dad is also big into Namasmarana. Like, he sings. We call him, everybody names him Bhajan Lal. So he keeps singing Swami's bhajan. Even in the bathroom, wherever it is, and he would sing there. So Appa was also singing the bhajans because we wanted Amma. The first thing, I think after 3 days, Amma woke up. So the Namasmarana gave a lot of strength to whatever we have to face. And even today, anything that happens, the first thing for me is like go back to the Sai Ram Sai Shyam thing I might have, there, if you look at YouTube, it's that bhajan has like something like 2 million views. And I would have contributed to the 2 million views quite a bit, with a lot of things that are going on. So I keep listening to that bhajan all the time. That's my, what is it called, the pakkad, to me, to get through whatever I have to do, even today. Thank you so much for bringing it. And Lord Swami has told your mom, I need to keep that in mind all the time. That Namasmarana is important to get through whatever. Sometimes, you go through all these anxieties and tensions in life. And I think I just need to keep it on top of my mind and do this all the time. Thank you, Sai Ram.
John, you're doing one and one.
I thought that was a beautiful reminder. I don't think I've heard such a strong reminder of Namasmarana and Seva, put together. I think that seems to be the recipe. I would say that sequentially Seva comes next because I think if you are constant awareness of God and God's name, then that Seva soon follows. And like you said, Prema will soon follow. But I read something just this morning on my Facebook feed that kind of fits in. It's a little long, but I'll cut it short. It says, this is a Charles Schulz philosophy, the guy who created the Peanuts cartoon, right? You might have heard this. He says, here's a quiz. Name the 5 wealthiest people in the world. Name the last 5 Heisman Trophy winners. Name the last 5 winners of the Miss America beauty pageant. He has like 6 or 7 things, right? And you think about it, you have to really think, And even like, who are the 5 Nobel laureates, right? If you ask this question 10 years from now, the answer is going to be different. And at the end of the day, I'm sure none of us offhand remember this at all, like right now. They're popular questions. But he said, now take a different quiz. List a few teachers who aided your journey through school. List 3 friends who have helped you through a difficult time. Think of 5 people you enjoy spending time with. he argues that is innately easier for us, and perhaps we will never forget. And all of those questions have seva embedded in them, right? They are the epitome of everyday seva. How do we connect with each other? How do we help each other cross a hurdle? So I think Swami's message around seva in particular is rings to me pretty strong, and I think all we have to remember is that's what greatness is built on in some ways, where we are constantly aware of this and we are helping in the most insignificant ways to the most, notable ways. Because the other stuff that we are doing in the worldly life, chasing credentials, chasing promotions, and so on and so forth, are very, very transient. So Sai Ram for a great reminder.
I'm again reminded of my grandmother's story. I'm going to take a minute to tell you the story. This is from some book she had, similar to a Chandamama, so short story, but it was not Chandamama. I read it and I asked her, and I remember this conversation so clearly. The story goes, there's a gentleman who in the farm and he has cows, and it was a sinner. The very first paragraph of the story, they depict the gentleman not nice, very big miser. And he has 3 children, and the youngest is called Govinda. And all in the traditional Indian sense, the children are named Srinivasa, Venkatesha, Govinda, whatever. And so one of them is Govinda. And he's a real sinner. That right away you get like this terrible, thing about him. And he's dying, he's on the deathbed dying, and he sees the cow gone to take the hay. It untied itself and gone to take the hay. So the miser in him is so angry that he's gone to take. So he's calling his son, Govinda, 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 to get rid of tie the buffalo back. And he loses his life, like he loses pranam potari, like I'm saying in Telugu. He dies while saying Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. So when he dies, the Yamadutalu come to take him because he's a sinner, he's never done anything good in his entire life. But there comes the Vishnu Dutalu, Vishnu's messengers to take his soul. So there is an argument there. Does he belong with the Yama because he's done all the baddest things in the world, or does he belong with the Vishnu? And the Vishnu wins because in the last moment of leaving the life, he said, Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. This is, and it is again, when I asked this question of her, she made me memorize this poem. In the Narasimha Shatakam, Kapavata Vaishchamu, Kapagavara Cheta, Kampa Muddhamani Kashtaparchu, Natyuvato Ninu Narayana Spirituno, Shrama Cheta Pilovaleno. At the end, you're covered with Kapam, Vatam, Vaishcham, which is this, ready to throw up, and your body is shaking and you cannot say anything. Najibato, with my mouth, am I able to take your name or not? So for that day, I will do the Namasmarana today. So what she was trying to say was, you do it in such a way, you constantly do it, that it becomes muscle memory. It's like automatically it goes. And it is true, my own personal experience, it is true. When I memorized Hanuman Chalisa, this is one of those things. My mother used to say, when in trouble, you recite this, everything will be okay. So when you're told these things at a young age, they're like literally meant as, that's gospel. Even till today, I swear to God, this happens to me. Somewhere on Merit Parkway, I'm like reciting it, I'm on the 30th or whatever slokam. And I realize, why am I reciting Hanuman Chalisa? Because I hit the brake somewhere. I hit like something came in between or something happened. It's like, that is started in my mind. So again, a reminder, and to be honest, that's why I named my son God's name. But hopefully one day I will call him and Vishnu Duta will come instead of the Yamaduta.
So
So, one more point. I was reading some other, taking, a little bit digressing from this. Apparently, the mind is also another body. This is Stula Sharira and the subtle body. So, in order to still the mind, so just like how you train the body with whether it's proper eating, don't smoke, all those things Baba tells you to do, similar to that, you train the mind to still the mind to be able to be in that namasmarana state, which is the constant integrated awareness, the CIA that Baba talks about. So, this dhyana, this meditation, is to still the mind so that you can go there. And the mind is described as not just the monkey who's inebriated with alcohol and bitten by a scorpion. That is how our mind is. It's unsteady. And this namasmarana and the meditation can still it to be in connection with Baba, our true self. Sarna.
So I just wanted to add two things here quickly. I just wanted to add two things. So one, Swami used to twist the story the other way. He used to say he used to turn it around the other way too and say that this person called up Rama, Govinda, Venkatesha, whatever, and in the end, when his last breath was actually passing away, he worried about the cow. So actually, Swami would twist it the other way where the Yamadutas actually came and took the fellow instead of the Vishnu Dutas. So he used to say that all your life, if you just are going to be this miser, evil person, and just because you devised a formula whereby you'll think, okay, in the last moment I'll call that name and you'll get benefit from it, forget it. He used to say you have to do seva and make this worthwhile. Just by chanting the name in the last moment, you will not get moksha. He used to say it that way too. And the other thing I think we just want to highlight is that when Swami refers to the japa and the name and the dhyana, I think an important point which you mentioned, Sandriyaka, is like when you do the dhyana, I think as we mentioned in the last chapter's review too, the most critical aspect of meditation is to know and realize that you are nothing but a witness. You are not the one who is controlling everything. So therefore, every time we come into this situation where Tere dwar pe main aau, you have to, I think each one of us has to realize that we are not going to be the one who is going to change this, and you have to be, one, be ready as a witness, and two, be ready for whatever you give me out of this is give me the acceptance to actually take it. It could be death, it could be worsening of the situation, whatever it is. I think knowing that you're a witness, it's difficult, but I think the whole practice of dhyana is to know that I am nothing but a witness to everything that is happening in and around me. Sarah.
Yeah, so I don't thanks. Strong, powerful reminder to have this as a calling card. So one way to combine Namasmarana with Seva is to chant Gayatri for others. Whoever we think needs help or emotional, physical, whatever, health, anything, if we can chant for them, I think that's a way to combine Namasmarana always as an instinct and as a service to others. I had a powerful reminder again this morning when out of the blue, I saw the WhatsApp and one of my really good friends was there at the Amritanandamayi, Mata Amritanandamayi ashram at Amritapuri, and he sent me a New Year greeting saying that, brother, thinking of you as I'm typing this message in front of Amma. That is a virtuous cycle. So if you pray for others, somebody else is going to pray for you when you don't even realize you might need prayer. So I think that's one way to remind ourselves, pray for others. Like I know Uncle reads the Shirdi Sai Satcharita for others. If we can make that a practice amongst ourselves to pray and chant for others, I think it's great. Seva.
So this morning, I was actually reminded of how powerful it is when, years ago when I was a child, I remember when my uncle passed away, and we were very close to him as kids, and it was, and I couldn't sleep at night when I was sleeping next to my mother, and what she said was that, pray to the feet of the Lord, and there is no darkness, because where he has gone, you may not be able to follow, but he's always with you. And that stayed with me for years, because there were things that he said that I remember. But what reminded me was I was talking to my mother this morning, and my mother is old. She's 96. Thank God, she's okay. But her older sister just had a stroke. So I've been wanting to talk to. Like when I called yesterday, she didn't pick up the phone. So she just had the stroke yesterday. So when I spoke to her this morning, I spoke to my mother. What I realized was, I was really very upset when I heard that my aunt had had the stroke. And I was saying, why God, why now? She's had such a good life. Couldn't she just pass away? Why does she have to be in the hospital? All these things keep going on in your mind. And I talked to my mother, and it was fascinating because there are only two of them left. There were six of them. There are only two of them left. She's the younger sister. And I said to her, I'm very sorry to have heard that, Vilima's not well, but, mommy, what to do? She's for 98, whatever. And you know what she said? She said, immediately, she said, it's all right, she said, because she is okay. And she said, we just have to believe that whatever happens, somebody is watching over you. And all this thing. And that what she said was truly what she believes, and so calmly. And then I realized, that's what we all have to do. And I do have to say that time and time again in my own life, I find that when I'm really desperate for something, there'll always be somebody who either calls or who comes into my life that I haven't seen or heard from in years. And suddenly they're there for you. And then you realize that there's always something, a power behind you. And yes, I do the japa every single day. And whenever I walk, that's what I say. But, to internalize that, to forever realize that this is the only thing there is for me still a struggle. So thank you for your word, Saira.
Saira, the purpose of doing all this, because we always say that love is the strongest emotion in the world, and you have to create that love. To be able to recognize God is in the abstract. You cannot recognize God unless you practice this Namsmarana. Namsmarana takes you to that love part, which makes you part of God. And because you're part of God, then you start believing in doing seva, you start in getting with people, and all these things come. What Sai Kiran said about his mother, she had a strong belief, and that belief was internalized all the time. And this is what we have to do to internalize God. We must say Nam Smarana, because it's only through Nam Smarana that love arrives in our heart, makes us soft. Saira.
Anyone else?
Saira. Just it becomes the bottom line. The question is, are we the droplet or are we the ocean itself? The thing that differentiates between the ocean and the droplet itself is the frequency. I can say so when Swami often says the first bhajan, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, then Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva. Then the third stage is Omkaram Bhava, Omkaram Bhava, which is basically we are at different frequencies. The very fact that one became many is that single frequency became multiple frequencies, a spectrum of frequencies. Now, once we start resonating with that frequency, is when all the changes happen. The perspectives change, the world in front of us change, the division changes, there's barriers gets broken, all of these things happen. So I think that's where we are all working out different ways and means to do that. And coming back to that seva, I think without this frequency change within us, or without resonating we end up doing, it will not give us the purpose what it is meant for. When we say seva, mentally we think we are doing some help for some downtrodden or something, then I think it just defeats the purpose. So without this change, without this mental approach or thing, I think seva wouldn't be of much help. And again, I've been always using this japa, dhyana, and namasmarana